Money has never really been about metal or paper or numbers on a screen. It is about something older and far more fragile. Trust. The belief that a promise will be kept, that a stranger, a bank, or a government will honor its word. For 3,000 years, that trust has taken new shapes, but it has never disappeared. This is the story of shared trust and how India lived it, lost it, and rebuilt it. Trust in economics is simple to define, but hard to build. The confidence that a promise made today will be honored tomorrow. Every time you accept a coin, a note, or a payment, you are making a bet that other people will accept it too. Without that shared belief, money is just metal, paper, or data, worthless on its own. This is why every civilization that has used money has had to answer one question. Who do we trust to guarantee its value? Sometimes it was a king, sometimes a temple, sometimes a merchant guild whose word was considered as good as gold. And sometimes, trust was not placed in an institution at all. It was placed in the community itself and in reputations built over a lifetime. When that trust broke, through fraud, war, or collapse, money itself could become worthless overnight. So to understand money, we have to trace the history of trust itself, starting thousands of years ago. In early societies, trust was personal. You traded with people you knew, your village, your tribe, and your family. But as trade grew beyond the village, something more was needed. A symbol that everyone could agree had value. Shells, salt, and cattle became some of the first trusted currencies because they were scarce, durable, and widely wanted. Around 600 BCE, the Kingdom of Lydia went further, stamping metal with an official mark, a government guarantee of value. That stamp was an early form of institutional trust, a ruler's promise stamped into every coin that left the mint. In China, trust took a different form. During the Tang and Song dynasties, merchants used paper receipts, backed by deposited coins. By the 10th century, the government itself began issuing paper money. Trust was now backed not by metal, but by the state. In India, temples became early centers of trust. Pilgrims deposited wealth with temples, which recorded and safeguarded it. Merchant guilds, known as shrenis, pooled funds and used their own seals as marks of guaranteed trust. A merchant's seal on a document meant something powerful. My reputation stands behind this promise. Trust in these early systems was never only economic. It was social, built on reputation, religion, and community accountability. By the time coins and paper spread along trade routes, humanity had learned the central lesson. Money works only while belief holds. Now, let us look more closely at India, a civilization that built some of history's most sophisticated trust-based financial systems. By the 13th century, under the Delhi Sultanate, indigenous bankers called shroffs were trusted across the subcontinent for currency exchange and credit. One of their most powerful tools was the Hundi, a handwritten note of credit that could be honored by a shroff hundreds of miles away. Imagine a trader in Delhi who needed to pay a supplier in Surat. Instead of carrying gold across dangerous roads, he simply wrote a Hundi. The Surat merchant presented that Hundi to a local shroff and received full payment, even though no gold had physically traveled between the cities. This system worked because shroffs trusted one another's networks. Reputation was currency, and a broken promise could destroy a banking family's name. Communities such as the Marwaris, Multanis, and Natukotai Chettiars built vast networks of trust stretching from Central Asia to Southeast Asia. The Mughal era added another layer of trust. Sher Shah Suri and later Akbar helped standardize the silver rupiah across large parts of the empire.
A single standardized coin meant that a trader in Bengal and a trader in Punjab could trust the value of the same currency. But in the 18th century, a new player entered India's trust economy, the British East India Company. The company began issuing its own coinage, and eventually paper currency, backed not by community trust, but by colonial authority. In 1861, the British government took direct control of currency issuance and introduced official government paper rupee notes in India. Many Indians were cautious at first. They trusted the weight of silver in their hands more than a promise printed on paper. Meanwhile, many princely states continued minting their own coins, each backed by the authority and reputation of a local ruler. This mixture of colonial rupees, princely coins, and merchant hundis reflected a country where financial trust was still deeply local. In 1935, the Reserve Bank of India was established to centralize and standardize the country's trust in a unified currency system. Yet colonial control meant that ultimate authority still rested with a foreign government, a tension that influenced India's independence movement. By 1947, India inherited a financial system built over 7 centuries, from hundis and temple treasuries to colonial banknotes. Independence brought a new challenge, rebuilding trust in money as something truly and completely India's own.
Now, let us cross the ocean to understand how the US dollar became one of the world's most trusted currencies. For decades, trust in the dollar was straightforward. It was backed by gold and could be exchanged for a fixed amount of it. In 1944, the Bretton Woods Agreement made the dollar the anchor of the global financial system, tied directly to gold. Other nations linked their currencies to the dollar. Global financial trust now flowed through a single American promise. But in 1971, President Richard Nixon ended the dollar's direct convertibility into gold, a moment known as the Nixon shock. The dollar became a fiat currency, valuable not because of gold, but because people trusted the United States government and its institutions. That trust was reinforced by America's economic strength, political stability, and deep, liquid financial markets. The pricing of much of the world's oil in dollars, often called the petrodollar system, further strengthened global reliance on the currency. Today, much of international trade, global reserves, and financial contracts are still priced in dollars, a trust built over many decades. But that trust is not permanent. It depends on confidence in American institutions, government debt, economic management, and political stability. Every currency, no matter how powerful, rests on the same foundation we saw in ancient India and Libya: shared belief. And today, that belief is being tested and reshaped once again by something entirely new.
In India, UPI has transformed how trust moves. Hundreds of millions of instant, verified digital transactions take place every day. Here, trust is not placed in gold, a king's seal, or even paper. It is placed in software, encryption, and shared digital records. Cryptocurrencies push this idea even further, distributing trust across thousands of computers, with no single institution in complete control. Whether this new form of trust will endure as coins and paper once did is a history that is still being written. From temple treasuries to hundis, from Lydian coins to the dollar, and from paper rupees to a tap on a screen, the form of money has always changed. What has not changed is our need to believe in it together. Trust is the real currency. Coins, notes, and computer code are simply the containers we have created to carry it. And as long as people continue to trust one another, money, in whatever form comes next, will continue to work.
From shells to smartphones, the story of money has always been the story of trust. A story that stretches from ancient hundis to the Reserve Bank of India, and from the gold standard to the modern United States dollar. Today, it is being rewritten again. One tap, one payment, and one transaction at a time. So the next time you spend a coin, a note, or a rupee displayed on your screen, remember, you are not just spending money, you are spending trust.
If you found this video valuable, please like, share, and subscribe to Finance Made Easy. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.